Shabbat Shalom. So, does anybody know when the I-4 construction is scheduled to be completed? Never. Well, perhaps not. I mean, it does seem to be going on for quite some time. I've been in Orlando now for 10 years, and I have not seen a single month when there wasn't some construction along the length of I-4 that goes through some part of Orlando. And obviously the last few years have been quite intensive. Yes? So even when they finish what they're currently working on, there is a vision for what goes next, which is great because that means when the final I-4 construction is done, that you will be able to jump on the freeway and there will never be traffic and there will never be an accident, right? Really? You believe in the Easter Bunny too? Wow, we're even going outside the religion to make the point. So, yeah, why is there traffic on a freeway? What happens? Is it just somebody decides to slam on their brakes and stop everybody behind them and just do that for fun? Well, what causes traffic? What's that? More population. All right, it's actually pretty simple. That if you have more people on a road, that at a certain point, the road will be full. There will simply not be enough room for the cars to move on the road, well, at speed. Because traffic isn't just about a number of cars, it's about the cars slowing down, or if you lived in Los Angeles like I did, coming to a dead stop for minutes at a time. Traffic is more than just quantity, it is about the quality of the drive, of slowing it down to a freeze. But when you think about it, all of our cars are capable of driving in perfect unison if we wished. There is no difficulty at driving 80 miles an hour if there was a car 3 inches from your bumper in front and 3 inches from your bumper behind, and driving 5 miles an hour with a car 3 inches in front and 3 inches behind. Technically, if you can keep your constant speed the same as the constant speed of the cars in front and behind, we could all zip down I-4, bumper to bumper, 80 miles an hour, no problem, except for breaking the speed limit law. So why don't we? Because I don't know about you, but I would be a nervous wreck. And I don't know about you, but I cannot guarantee that my foot would not waver ever so slightly on that pedal, perhaps increasing or decreasing my speed just enough to set me out of sync with the cars around me. And when that would happen, well, if I touch the car in front or touch the car behind and we're going 80 miles an hour, that is when you have a nightmare scenario. And it is something like that that happened in Meron. For those of you that are not aficionados of Israeli news, the Lag BaOmer celebrations at Meron are always the most intense, enthusiastic, and joyful in any part of the world. Unfortunately, at the celebration concert, there was a catastrophe. More than 40 people were killed in the crush of the people, 100,000 plus people there, and unfortunately, well, somehow someone slipped. It often gets called a stampede, not a great word. It was not that there were a bunch of people all pushing for an exit. It is simply like an overcrowded freeway. With too many cars, the margin for error becomes too fine. And when the margin of error is exceeded, when there are too many people in a close place together, all it happens is like the falling of dominoes. And at the periphery, no problem. But when you are closer to the center, then too much falls upon you, and there was the horrific loss of life. Sorry, the microphone is poking me. But why were they there? Why Meron, of all places? Why Lag BaOmer, of all days? Why would there be 100,000 Jews ecstatically dancing in joyous religious celebration in what I mean, it's Israel, so it's never too far from anywhere, but still could really be relatively called the middle of nowhere. Meron is not exactly Tel Aviv, it is not Jerusalem, it is not even Tzfat or Tiberia. Why in Meron, of all places? Well, to unpack that, we have to do a little bit of historical archaeology to understand how Meron has captured a particular mindset among our people. So Meron is considered to be the traditional site of the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a rabbi from the 2nd century and one of the students of Rabbi Akiva. And there are many stories and tales told of him in both the Mishnah, Midrash, and Talmud. However, his fame did not truly grow until the late Middle Ages, when a book was discovered, shall we say, called the Zohar. The Zohar is considered to be one of the most central and important works of Jewish mysticism, of Kabbalah. And in the Zohar, there is an attribution to its authorship. And the authorship is given to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, we have no external evidence that he actually wrote this. We have no corroboration. Certainly within the Talmud, Mishnah, and Midrash, it does not say. It fits his character. That is to say, it is esoteric and beyond the understanding of most of us, like much of what he said. But nevertheless, the Zohar claims that its author is none other than Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has a very particular yahrzeit. And it is the 33rd day of the Omer. 33, when you write it in the Hebrew alphabet as numbers, is Lag. That is to say, Lag Ba'omer, the 33rd day of the Omer. And so, especially for those who are devotees of Kabbalah, of the mystical visions found within the Zohar and many of the books that came later, the 33rd day of the Omer, specifically at the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Meron, is the day, the place, the moment for the most ecstatic celebration of the mystical experiences and wisdom that Kabbalah purports to teach. And so, because of this emphasis on mystical gathering and celebration, because of this emphasis on the uniqueness of the place, the moment, the spot in time and history, being somewhere else is not even second best. It's not really even on the list. The attraction of mysticism is that it claims that every physical action has a magnified spiritual implication. And for those who follow the ideas of Kabbalah to their extremes, being in Meron on Lag BaOmer is the pinnacle of the year. And for many of them, it is higher in holiness and power than even Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, or any of the other Chagim. And so, over the years, Israel has allowed more and more, thousands and thousands, to congregate into a space that was never designed to hold hundreds of thousands of people. And there have been problems before. Every year, people are taken to the hospital with heat exhaustion, with dehydration, with minor or sometimes more severe injuries. You might say, to quote the book of Daniel, that the handwriting has been on the wall that a catastrophe could occur. But because of the drive of this mystical moment, no one has been willing to say, enough. It's full. You're not allowed to have more people in this place. And this is the true problem. We cannot blame those who were crushed in the crowd. We cannot blame those who wished to be there. We cannot blame those who organized the event. We cannot blame anyone who participated, for all of them individually made a choice that was spiritually powerful, captivating, and inspiring for them and for others. If you have never experienced the ecstatic joy of having a connection to God that transcends the mundane moments of the day, then perhaps you don't quite understand the attraction, the draw of coming together at a place like this for Lag BaOmer or any other time. So each one of them was right to want to be there. Each one of them was right to be there. So where did we fail? How is it that this has now become the worst peacetime disaster in the nation of Israel's history? Because we forgot the other side of Torah. We forgot the other pillars of Torah, which are necessary to hold up the society, the civilization, the culture, the community, to have an opportunity for that ecstatic joy of a mystical experience. The pillars that say pikuach nefesh, that we need to be careful to save a life. The pillars that say you build a parapet, that you build a wall to prevent others from falling. The pillar that says you must be the shomer, the guardian of each other. The pillar that says you must be sure to not leave any traps, any pits, any openings for others to fall into. The vast tort law of Judaism, boring though it may seem to many, and to many the antithesis of spirituality and of mysticism, is the necessary foundation and framework within which to contain a mystical experience to keep it from harming either the participants or those around them. Judaism was not designed to break free of the shackles of its so-called legalism. Those who claim that have generally been those of other religions attacking us. But unfortunately, too many of our own co-religionists have felt that the restrictions the Torah places, that requires us to have care and honor for each human being, to preserve their life at all costs, even at the expense of allowing a mystical moment that they wish, to think that those should be set aside means to abandon Torah altogether and to sully the mystical experience that you seek. Judaism must have both. We must be grounded, rooted within the words of the Torah, rooted within the laws that protect each and every one of us, that provide the surety that when I am on that freeway, we will not be going 80 miles an hour with only 3 inches between us. That we will be driving more carefully, and that we will build and construct to increase capacity, to reduce the risks. That cars will be designed with airbags and seat belts and crumple zones, with automatic braking systems, and all of the other things that we are introducing to reduce the danger that comes from how we move. And if we do that on our freeways, all the more we should do that for our moments of spiritual worship and excitement. We do not trade this world for the next. We imbue this world with the power of the next. And we do that without losing what is necessary to protect this life. For it is only in this life that we can have those experiences. And so Judaism has set at its chiefest responsibility that we protect that life, that we guard it at all times. We do not have to condemn those who attended, but we must reflect on what can be done to safely allow this type of experience to happen without the danger and risk. It was obvious for years that something could happen. Now that tragedy has struck, I pray that those lives were not lost in vain, and that the celebrations at Meron and the ecstasy that comes from these mystical experiences is not sacrificed as we swing too far away, but instead we find the balance that Torah calls to us with. We can have both the pillars and the decorations of our world. We can have both. We must have both. Shabbat Shalom.